month or so.
All right, sorry, we're a few minutes late. We had a few minor technical issues, but we can get moving forward now. Let me see what we got. Currently, we have President Dave Pasquarella, Jason Lamro, Melinda Norco. Absent, we have Sarah Gardella and Dave Lewis, myself, Arthur Frizzle. So we do have a quorum, so we can move forward this evening. And first off, anybody had any amendments, or has everybody had a chance to read the agenda for tonight? And does anybody have any amendments for that? Perfect. Have you also had a chance to read the previous minutes from the last meeting back in January? Any objections? Any objections? Those will be part of the record. Old business. Jason, you should have information on the EMS stabilization grant.
So yes, I think actually last time we did talk about that. That was submitted to main EMS. I hadn't heard anything by our last meeting since they had reached out to Nicole for a follow-up email of our budget and financial standing, which is normal for all agencies that are applying to submit that documentation. So that was submitted, and that was the last where communications
that prompted a board discussion or a board separation of the budget. Is that correct?
Right, at our last meeting, right, so we had talked about, Dave Lewis had mentioned it, you weren't here for that one, but Dave had talked about, I guess, the importance, you would say, of separating the two, or considering separating the two budgets for any sort of future funding that might come up.
So, as far as the EMS and fire,
Right.
We certainly could do so. I think we ended up combining it back in 2015 because the budgets were so similar, training lines, things like that. So it may be possible to divide up those line items slightly. However, a lot of it is commonality between the two, simply because we don't have a large EMS function or group. But certainly something we can look at as we go forward. Definitely something that we need to be right to do better on as far as being able to account for that. And I think that's part of where you're going with that.
Right.
Somebody who
Yeah,
paid more for this looking for specific,
but there is a lot of that. What makes it difficult. Our, in that grant application specifically, they were singling out trucks and that sort of stuff, like how many EMS calls will this truck respond to versus fire and that sort of things. Doesn't really work that way for us. The math doesn't work.
some of those are easy figuring simply because those don't necessarily respond as an EMS vehicle. It's a secondary response vehicle. On occasion it does, but certainly nothing would be able to generate grant or base information on.
And I will say I didn't notice anywhere in that documentation about when they would make a decision or anything, when they would follow up.
No timeline. If they follow what has occurred so far, to the best of my knowledge, other agencies that were among the first to submit, we're not actually getting responses up until that time where you got the information that you needed additional information. So my guess is that first wave is being administered and then just reviewing the second and third waves from there. That's only a guess, but that would be my understanding as it passes. Excellent. Community paramedicine.
Yes, so I think the last time we talked about it was going to the select board. Did I talk about, or I had it as the select board? I was trying to remember the timeline. It was going to the select board. So it was approved by the select board to apply for the Maine Health Access Foundation grant, the discretionary grant from them. With the help of the age-friendly committee, we did get that application written and submitted. And since I've had 2 follow-up meetings with the Maine Health Access Access Foundation. The first meeting basically was just for them to get more information on what we were possibly looking at doing. Talk about feasibility study and all that. There was no plans in place for that. And then the second meeting brought in another individual, Charles Dwyer, who actually has a history on the Community Paramedicine Committee for the state of Maine and is kind of tied in and was involved with the development of the program in Jackman. So he was very familiar with it and was actually really helpful following and talking with him. They're fully supportive and willing to have us put in a full application. So our first communication actually was a letter of interest, saying if you're interested in applying, then they kind of interview you. That's what these calls were, and then they invite you for the full application. So at this point, we have been invited to complete the full application. They're very supportive of the idea. Their one caveat was to make sure that there was no funding available from the state to do this portion of the program, which I believe is the program that Bill Monteo was talking about at first, and that Sally mentioned at our last meeting that there's a program in place in the state that's currently unfunded. So they're well intended to help out, but there's no money to do it. So as long as that is still the case, which I'm pretty sure is still the case, then they're fully on board to help us out as long as we go through the full application process. So I've received the invitation for the full application, which is kind of overstated because there's really just two more questions. One of which being actually, one of it basically is sustainability. How do you, I'm getting the, it's like one of them is sustainability, making sure, what is your plan for sustainability? Of course, figuring out sustainability can be part of the process. And one of the ideas that Charles Dwyer talked about as what we might like to take as our first step once you actually begin the process is called an informed community self-determination. Have you heard of that? An ICSD? Informed community self-determination. So it's basically like a self-assessment of your EMS program, what you have currently, what does that cost, and then what could the future look like. Pretty much exactly what we've been doing in this committee. But there's consultants. Rick Petrie is actually one of the ones that's qualified to do them, who's the person we talked about potentially using as a consultant through this process. So he strongly recommended that be the first step in the process of feasibility. That way, go to the town, to the public, and say, this is what we're looking to do. You can actually provide some data and some options, not just open-ended. What would you like to see? So yeah, basically we have that as part of the letter of intent. We had given a date of September to begin the process of feasibility for the community paramedicine program. They need the final application 8 weeks ahead of that. So it's not a big rush. They can process it pretty quickly. So I'm working again with the committee to finish the full application. We'll get that submitted. Go from there. Everything will positive from that. So there'll be some work down the line on community paramedicine.
What was the September date?
What was it? Just to begin the process of feasibility and development of start the study, right? Essentially, because they're they need a timeline as far as their part of their application. Oh, the other part of the full application is budget. They're broken down, expenses. So that's something else that we put together.
Guess that kind of dovetails into number 3, the update on town survey.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so last time we met, we had a drafted survey, and after meeting with the community and getting feedback, and Sally was here and she provided some feedback as well. We decided to keep only, 6 questions. 5 questions, something before 5, being a multiple choice type question to determine a person's satisfaction or if they agree to disagree. And then we made 6 questions completely open for additional comments. And this was just to gather our baseline of where people in town feel of certain different things. And it covers a lot of different things that we've been talking about. So if we get a lot of feedback in one particular area, maybe that can guide us into a direction or a different direction. And so, and given that there's a lot of, there's our town budget's coming up and there's a lot of chatter going on about that, and might be a great time to administer a survey to see where people are at. So this is more of a final. It is sent to everybody as far as like the tool is an Excel spreadsheet that breaks everything down, because Jason had offered the HVAC committee to really help collect that data. We have brainstormed ideas about mass mailing or putting it in a flyer in our town newsletter, something to get it out, social media. We had talked about not relying heavily on social media because a lot of people in our town don't have social media. And so maybe getting to a type of platform or some type of survey random sample that is popular to social media. Also, there's some platforms on social media that may not be people upvoted, which is where we want to try to focus our population. So again, we have brainstormed again the mass mailings and how much that's going to cost, and or do we put it in the flyer and it's best? We run it once, we run it twice. I think we're just finishing this up, finalize this, and then talk about how we're going to distribute it.
And, sorry, but I think this is great. That's just my data. And we did determine that cost, right? And I guess my question is, so you're thinking this is something that happens sooner rather than later, like prior to town meeting and not?
I mean, it's not an emergency. I would say it's an emergency, but
Is there any benefit or reason to hold off and include it as part of this, the community care medicine program? I guess I'm asking a question.
It's part of it, it's, at least as far as I see, trying to get it done in that month between now and town meetings.
I would say
And
we're
doing
probably going
response.
to get, right now is a very sensitive time. I would say we're probably going to get more of a response right now. I feel just by pattern in the last couple of years is that we're going to get a lot of response between the warrant comes out, which is going to come out soon, very soon, and the week after everyone gets their tax bill.
Right. Yeah.
So in between that time, it would be, so it's not an emergency.
There's always the opportunity, volunteering some health services, but literally can hand it out at some meeting as well. And that's the opportunity to get it directly into people's hands. I don't know if it's something that they fill out, hand back in real time, or just for them to take with them when you can QR code to a place and take the survey. That's an opportunity to get it into a lot of hands without the cost.
You could QR code on like the website. Where does it go? Anywhere you want to. I mean,
I mean, web address, right?
Serving something.
Serving.
Right, so I said,
Point that
You ask them to like form, like,
Google form.
Well, I was
Then we
thinking
can
about
just
that
put a
too,
word.
not everybody has it.
well, I don't even use Google, right, but a form is,
That's true.
it's just, you make it public, right?
It's supposed to be full time,
Yeah.
so you can
Right.
do whatever.
Yeah, or whatever, right?
So yeah, I mean, that, if we have the survey somewhere posted online and create a QR code for it, which is free, then that you could share QR code easily through social media, wherever. Printed versions of QR code posted around, and handed out directly at the time.
I'm not gonna do any of this, I'm probably,
We'll be a little busy, so.
I mean,
Yeah, if that's something you wanna do.
as far as like where people maybe can offer to have a box or something, or bring like a hardware box and put it in the top or something.
And I might be able to get somebody from like H, maybe to help out too, maybe there's something else, I'm sure. To staff, what they do.
what kind of deadline you make sure all that there.
That's good, right, how long is-
I agree, you want to kind of get it out soon, so you can really get. Thankfully, I guess this won't immediately impact the budget, this is all stuff we're gonna start planning for the next phase based on that, so, you know, that high level of excitement, if you will, of the tax bills and stuff, may be reflected accurately or inaccurately, depending upon the basic feeling. But with that said, expanding it out well beyond the town meeting to, you know, early July, where, all right, I've had a month to digest what the town is looking to do or what the town's budget is looking like. Based on that, where do I see me in the future saying, all right, yes, let's fund this fully, let's dial it back and go at it systematically, where you know, we might get a little more measured response. To offset the excited response in the beginning.
I mean, we could, we can executing it in the beginning of June, and then have a no later than date of, you know, postmark date or whatever, of like July, you know, and then possibly July. Right?
Again, if you get them out there sooner than the town meeting, you get it out there, you get that
Right.
little bit of
Yeah,
response.
get it all
that
online,
maybe-
create QR code, we can get it out.
And then put this out at town meeting, so. Cross section.
Right.
Cut it off at mid-July, end of July, that would give you a month and a half to say, you know, this is what we're working with. I might possibly suggest even the end of July, only because we would typically miss the, and that'll be a later suggestion, but from June to probably September, we would typically take a kind of leave, so. In that case, you would get all the responses you probably could get.
And then leading into September, we start this process, we've got some.
Now you got some numbers to really dig into. So I guess then at that point, what's the best way to start? Or do you want to develop a survey monkey? Do you have a form? Do you have a medium to use both print and social media or online options?
Your social media concern. How to make sure it's. Whoever.
Yep. And,
Do we leave that out? You know, just point, you know, just put it in a newsletter, maybe.
Town website, you can certainly have a QR code, I can get it to the fire department site, and to map that.
we'll have time to get it into another newsletter, the July newsletter, so we have one coming out. Right on. And I came in today, so it's going right off, so July first will be the next newsletter, so we say the end of July, deadline.
Does
the form itself is built on Word document, a Google Doc. So the only thing is it's built within our companies. So I would have
Yeah.
to firewall. I mean,
No, I mean, I think probably, just not like it done.
I was just gonna say, is it possible to create?
Or, I mean,
I don't know if the town will be able to utilize a single email account in the town's domain for that initial survey responses to go through and then disable.
Yeah, you guys have some, you must have like,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Just do it.
do it in forms of public and
Okay.
response.
Yeah,
I'll,
that's easy.
Yeah, I can figure it
So
out.
I can work.
Oh, that's done some too, she's done surveys, the other stuff, so.
You'll just get those off.
I mean, it has a solid waste committee not too long ago. About huge.
Right. Maybe once a week.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'll figure out a way to get it online, I can get QR code to it.
Usually we should do that, you know.
We can get this printed up on
Yeah.
something, say appropriate, something different, maybe smart stuff, that's a little easier to work with.
Yeah, we should even do the top part of this is just how my brain works. So there's.
Yeah, sure.
What I told the other states. Our purpose.
Are we,
You can.
this is something that's gonna be completely anonymous, I assume.
Yeah.
We don't really track it, we must still might get people from out of town.
And the problem comes with some of those level of satisfaction current, so she only got a very small cross section.
That's why
Say.
we.
Yeah, well, exactly, and not that you necessarily have no input in that, but that.
Yeah, that's why we had it, I have no knowledge, because I was like,
And someone's gonna say,
yeah,
I'm very dissatisfied because of the upcoming budget.
right.
And that's why we added the comment section too, so that way we can have a filter or figure out where.
Right, and this is probably almost as right, some, you're gonna have that spectrum of like really satisfied people or really angry people, right? And then I just want to look at it.
So, I in that little ground.
And there's actually a tool that I have for that one particular question. It's actually a consumer satisfaction report analysis. So I actually have the calculations of the system and the tools to how to break that down. That way it's not so overload the results.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Any other problems or questions you see with, or issues with what the questions are? I know you guys have gone through, so I'm kind of out of the loop if that was all agreed on previously, or.
I don't think Dave would work.
No, I mean, I read your email from, what, Monday, Tuesday, and, I'm glad that this was this question.
Yeah.
It's small.
Sure, sure, it's simple, right?
It's not like, oh, it's gonna take you 15 minutes.
Right.
And you thought I was angry when I started.
Wait about 30 minutes later.
With the distribution of the survey, they have to have meeting, for example, this is something that we're just going to, they're gonna get tickets for voting, and then we're just gonna like have this followed up and like, hey. Things with you. Or should we,
Defer to the table person. And there's lots of different ways to do it, you could, they could fill it out on the spot, so they're gonna receive different packets and whatnot when they walk through the door.
yeah,
And other organizations or whatever at tables set up, that may try to make them pass and handed out informational stuff. Like I said, they could have, I think you could do it either way, I think you could have the option that they could take 5 minutes or less to fill it out, put it in the box, or it has a QR code right on it, say, just take this paper with you when you're ready, scan the QR code, you can follow on. Right, yeah, they can drop it off later. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's drop it off. I think you probably like be prepared if somebody wants to fill it up, but kind of more of a take with you if we can.
A lot of paperwork, like you said.
Right.
Already.
Yeah, so already got half stack. So yeah, once I get that QR code put together, are you okay with just putting printouts together for the town meeting stuff?
I just would like to know, like, what is it you want to look like? Does it want to look like this, or you want to put something out differently? Yeah.
Something. Make it a combination of the
I was gonna say that.
town seal.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Don't know. Early on,
That's
we're actually doing a bunch of stuff Friday night too, so. Okay, I know better. Nine AM, ball games.
printing. We'll see if we can get town office to do the stuff.
Yeah, we can just.
Doesn't have to be heavy duty, but some-
Right.
That going to fire department?
What's that?
Is that going?
I could certainly make that one. I just might have to really on the printing. A little sketchy, so do a little light in the car. We can make it work, no question. Excellent. I guess with that, any new business that anybody has?
I guess it's not really new business we talked about last time, but just an update. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I did put together a flyer for the community CPR class. Talking about for May 16th. We had 0 registrations, and we had a little bit, the instructor gave kind of a long deadline. He wanted to know well in advance what the numbers were gonna be. And by the time we reached the deadline, we had no registrations, so we decided to postpone and do it. We'll do something later in the summer or fall, or whatever, I'm not sure.
I think that the hands-only CPR, which is essentially what that would have been, we have EMT or a medical staff that can certainly sit down and train that. We've done that in the past. We did have some decent community turnout at that point. I think if we go at the end of the summer, everybody's starting to get back.
We'll give it another go, but just in case you all or anybody were planning on the 16th, we have to postpone that.
And that's also something that we can, if we find out there's a amazing amount of interest initially, we can schedule that whole period of weeks and do several different classes with that, make that work good. I think the last time Christian was not, he did the last one, we had a lot of the downtown businesses and their employees, with the new AEDs that we had at that time. And it was received very well. That's just a matter of getting that interest going again. So, and that might be something we can take on the road, say Pro to the 29 Pro, something like that, that might bring it into their own more. That makes it easier for them to attend as well as gives them that good information right there. So. Any other new business?
Just on that one piece is reaching out to the businesses in a situation recently that has CPR. So, reaching out to the businesses and just like, hey, by the way, this is what we're doing. This is, I think we saw this stuff in our every day, right?
We do have as well a significant donation of used AEDs that we're working on gearing up so we can start putting them in the community as well. The store, anything along that line, daycare is right there. That's the location. We have the resources, we just need to get where they're used, the batteries were close to end of life, the pads were end of life. And I say used, very lightly used, they were stored and aged out as opposed to being end of life. So once we can restore those components, then we can put those out in the community. I think we've kind of brushed on where we've gone with the last few, but reviewing committee goals, where do we want to go? What do we want to see for us going forward? What is kind of our intent? When we started this, we kind of had the broad focus of EMS and road down. There was no true direction, so we kind of took the idea that, you know, where do we want to build it? How do we beef it up, I guess? Is there any change to that, or is there something you'd like to see us looking forward towards or adding to what we might be able to consider?
Maybe input from the survey will help kind of guide us. Very sure. We have actually, we have an update on where the next contract is for.
The next contract, I believe, was submitted to the town manager. It came in less than, minimally less than originally expected. I think it was right around 170 to 180. Currently, we're at 250,000. I'm not sure. It was somewhere within that range of 170 to 180. So in my mind, it was an amazing step forward to get we were able to provide that level of service and drop the prices for that. So now it's just a matter of going before the town meeting just to approve that, or hopefully approve that. So we can move forward with that. Again, being the only game in town and the only one that's even offered, our options are truly limited. But Lisbon is a fantastic option. And they're very reasonable offer to do it. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the survey does too. To think we get, give me a better idea of where the people are.
Right.
What is the town that pays off now? I think probably this is what I can propose us.
In that case, the next month, working up to town meeting, I know Jason's going to have his hands full. I've got a few things myself to work with. So if there's no objection, the thought is to do it after town meeting. We can either go close to the meeting. I know we've done it at the end of the month, which puts us really close to July 4th, or we can bring it back to like the third week. That way you've had a chance to digest the town meeting and still get it in before there's summer vacation really kicks into high gear. The kids or whatever.
There's something.
And then from there, and again, this is only my thought, I spoke briefly with Jason, laying off for July, August, and picking back up in September. Just suggestion of that.
Normal for most of the town committees, take a couple months off. In summertime.
This is the last week of June is probably better.
Put you into 26th actually isn't too bad. As close as I thought to be. Any objection to the 26th of June? What's your schedule?
It actually works out well. I've got the tournament starting the 20th Thursday, where we wrap up on the 25th Tuesday, so I'll be done by.
We will plan on the 26th of June here at 6 p.m.
We're not meeting until then. schedule do prior to town meeting.
Yep, to get materials good.
If I don't feel like I'm not gonna remember.
If you guys want to meet as a group in May, that's not a problem. I just,
As long as we can put the survey in it
Yeah.
out,
We don't get the materials together.
the flyer.
We just work with it.
Yeah,
excellent.
what I can do is I can propose emails. I'll create a fresh email, because I really just institution. The 10th meeting first.
It is on the first.
So
How much in advance do you need to do?
what do you got on like 29,
29 can do 30 seconds.
30?
Yep.
What's that?
Thursday can be from day or. I don't care. Usually by 9 or 10 in the summertime, I'm over there
Where's it there?
to the town office. Sorry, going from ball fields to town office. Usually off the lawnmower by then.
Right, I'll do 30 and I'll do.
Yep.
As you just said, June 1st, 9 a.m. at the Woodham Community School in the gym is town meeting, so. I'll see you guys before then. And with that, if we've got nothing more to bring forward, anybody up in the agenda? No objections. Thank you all.
And I'm sorry, Dave, if you had like 3 hours notice about this meeting.